All right, I'm going to pause this and wait for Samantha to hop in the room. All right, I am super excited, super honored to have my first ever health coach on the Move Happy Movement podcast, Samantha Nivens, here on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Oh, thank you so much, Erin. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay, likewise. And I always love to share, with my audience members on the podcast and the vlog, if you're watching on YouTube, how I connect to such amazing, outstanding people. And I actually connected with you through a company we worked together. And that was when I moved across the country to help my family member. And I can't remember the exact point when we connected. It was like a water cooler meeting or something, but this is like one of the top health coaching companies in the nation, funded through the government, like super cool opportunity. And just like you and I just vibed. Like, do you remember how we connected exactly?
I do not actually.
Okay, I was like,
I
maybe
have mom brain
remember.
a lot of the time, so I don't remember specifically. Yeah.
I know that was how we connected. And then just through the journey and the power of, social media, seeing you share a little bit of your story, a little bit of your family and whatnot. I was like, this is a good example of a human being that is light, is love, and is that, that role model for health and fitness. So I'm just so grateful for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, it's such an honor. I love sharing my story now. And I probably don't even share it enough because life is full. But to be where I am today, and I'm happy to elaborate on the story in any way, it's such a dream. And it's like a dream now living it, but I know like I still have big goals for where I want to be.
Yeah.
But it feels so good to be in like dreamland life right now. And it hasn't always been like this, y'all.
Yes. And I love that. And we're going to definitely dive deep into that, because I know there's a lot of listeners from all over the world. I found out about a month ago, and I still keep myself humble because I don't know how I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm in the top 10% for all podcasts in the world. And I'm like, what? So that's why I was like, I have to interview her. She's so positive. She's so encouraging. And you're like this ultra athlete.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no excuses, people. No excuses. You can, it's like, get out there. If you're a mom, stroller mom, like make it work. Bring your kids with you. So let's talk about beginnings for Samantha. What was Samantha like as a little girl?
Okay, yeah, this is such a fun question. I love that you have this. So as a little girl, honestly, it's funny because when my mom has told me things, like it truly is like who I am today. Like I was always this like stubborn, determined, like don't tell me no. I will tell you what we're like. I was very strong-willed as a girl. And actually, and so when I did my first 5K when I was 8, and that wasn't my choice. Like that was actually my mom who dragged me to this 5K, for her friend who had MS. I ended up doing it though with her, and literally in that like run race, I was like, Mom, let's go. Like, I was like having so much fun and like loved it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kind of history from that point on, like that was really like the start of my running. And literally a few years later than that, when I was 11, I did a 150-mile bike ride. I forget about it sometimes because it's so long ago, but we had like Shopko or Kmart bikes. If you don't know Shopko, like we had nothing special. I did not train other than like probably a few days down the block, like block sometimes, like
what?
But we did it, and my mom did it too. So I've always had this drive. I've had a paper route. I have a job since I was 10 years old.
Oh, me too.
In my brother's name because I was too young to get it. But I was like, there's got to be a way. Jason, do you want it? No? Okay. So we put it in his name so I could have it a year earlier.
That's hilarious. We did the same thing, but it was in Mom's name.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I know. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So I've always been that driven. And I will say even like family dynamics though, it's like My parents separated at a very young age.
Okay.
We moved almost every single year. My parents, like, we grew up poor. We had no money, like
Yeah.
food stamps and all the things.
Yeah.
So I like to share that too, and knowing like there was no privilege, like other
Yeah.
than white privilege, like,
Yeah.
but there was no circumstances that would quote unquote allow me to do this different than
Yeah.
anybody else out
You've
there.
earned your way in life. You've worked, you've hustled.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So elementary, you were this endurance athlete, like out of no training, 11 years old, 150 miles. Then you went on to, was it junior high or middle school?
Yep. So, well, middle school, I started running cross country,
Okay.
kept up with that in high school, played soccer in high school.
Um,
Just good, I guess, at cross country, and decent at soccer, but nothing that I also got in the wrong crowd in high school.
okay.
So like barely got through that whole time.
Okay.
And so there was like some darker times where it was like
Yeah.
wrong crowd, the drinking, the smoking, all the things.
Yeah.
Um,
But you made it through.
yeah,
Somebody's listening to the show right now that has a kid at home that's getting into those things, and I know they're gonna share this episode with them. Hey, go listen to this. So
Oh my
thank
gosh.
you for
Y'all
your
need to
honesty.
reach out too. That's like my favorite because of the experience that I went through in like high school and early 20s.
Yeah.
Like, I wish someone, a mentor, a coach,
Yeah.
whatever, an aunt had like reached out to say like, hey, I like, let me help you or like give you some
Yeah.
guidance. And because of that, I am like I am all like, give me the teenagers and like young
Yeah.
20s, anybody, but especially that age when it's so like foundational and you're so lost. Like, I
Absolutely.
love to be that help.
Yeah, I love that. And Elena Cardone, I don't know if you follow her much, but her story is very similar. She and Grant are these like, I don't know if they're billionaires yet, but they have over $1 billion in equity in the real estate space and whatnot. They host big 10X conferences, but she
I know
also,
I've heard Grant Cardone, of
yeah,
course. Yeah.
yeah. So she talked about in her schooling too, getting into the wrong crowd. But look at her now. Like it's like,
Yes.
and look at you now. You're a superstar, and I love that you have the rags to riches story. You know what I mean? It's like we
Yeah.
don't all come from the same background, but we all can make choices to get wherever we want to get if we're intentional. I love that.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
that. So college, did you do the college thing or did you do
I
career?
did.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
I did. I ended up taking a longer route with it. I did a
Okay.
couple years in Milwaukee, did a couple years in South Florida. I lived down there for a little bit before I moved back up here to Asheville.
Okay.
So it kind of was like a span of probably 6 years in total, of like 2 years on,
Okay.
a year off. But I have my bachelor's actually in political science, believe it or not.
Wow. Okay.
And I got fascinated with politics during that time. Did not want to continue in it for
Okay.
some obvious reasons.
But you got the
And
foundation.
like they can't handle this energy, in politics. So, and then I have my master's. I started my master's in my late 20s, and that
Okay.
is in exercise science and health promotion.
I love that. So that's how it tied in. And then did you start coaching right after that or?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I will say, even with the master's, I had started it in Florida and then I moved up to Asheville because I was
Okay.
just like, I'm a mountains girl. I needed to leave. Like, I
Yeah.
never really wanted to settle in South Florida.
Yeah.
So, so I took like, I think it was a couple years break in between my master's there because I was going through my own, what do I want to do? Figuring all of that out.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
I just knew like health, it has always been like, I actually started my undergrad in health initially before
Okay.
I shifted to poli-sci. So I just always been on my heart, but like, and so, and back in the day, it was mostly like personal trainers, strength training. The
Yep.
whole coaching thing is in my mind, fairly newer in the
Yes.
last 5 years or so.
Definitely.
So I had taken a small break in my master's and I started back up, and I had actually had my first babe at that point.
Okay.
And he was 6 months old when I went back, and I had a virtual
Wow.
class, but I also had a class I had to drive for, once a week to go to. So I just want to, like, for all the mamas out there, or
Yes.
anybody with kids, like, doesn't matter if you want to do something, you can absolutely do it. And that I
Yeah.
finished my master's, took me a year with having a 6 month to a year and a half year old to finish
Yeah.
that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible for those that are like, well, no big deal, or they're not a mom, or maybe they're not even a woman listening to this. That's a huge deal. You have to coordinate babysitting. You have to figure out cost factor if you're paying for school, or if you have like a graduate teaching or research assistantship. They only pay you about $1,000 a month, so you're not living high off the hog. So that's incredible that you're doing that. And as a person that worked at the university in grad school, I saw all the moms that were going back, or the older women that were going back because their kids were raised. And it was so inspirational to me, because I was like, it's never too late to follow your dreams and open up opportunities for yourself. So that's incredible. Awesome. So you finished grad school, and then is that right around the time where you started working for Noom, or?
Yeah. I would say I think it was within 6 months or so.
Okay. So it was
Yeah.
like was that 2018 then? Was that, or 2017? Somewhere around?
I was at Noom for I left last fall. So I was with them for just over 3 years. So I think that
Okay.
was 2018. Yeah.
2018. Okay, cool.
Actually it was March 2018. Yeah. Mhm.
March. Okay, cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then, so you somehow met we'll talk about that later. You're giving me an idea for my last question. Okay. Awesome. So first question is related to the first pillar of Move Happy, which is mindset. Obviously, it's obvious to me that you've had a powerful mindset since a young age. I mean, 150-mile bike ride, 11 years old. But for those that maybe are in the similar space, or they want to get into what you're doing, but they're struggling right now, either they have depression, clinical depression, or maybe they're just going through a tough season right now, what are some words of wisdom you could give in keeping a positive mindset for those that are in that space, whether they're a mom, health coach, or aspiring
Yeah.
to be?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good. Such a great question. So, and a couple things come to mind there. First and foremost, and actually you just, us talking about the early on days, I have also been reading personal development, self-help books since I remember the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens when I was like 13 years old or 12 years old, right?
That was the first book I read.
Yes. I remember that clearly. And since that time, no matter how dark days went, no matter what life situations were going on, I have always been an avid reader, and specifically of personal development, self-help books. And nowadays, podcasts are an absolute go-to. I probably have about 10 always that I'm subscribed to, depending on if I'm struggling in my relationship, then I might listen to the Marriage Coach podcast. If I'm struggling with running, I'll listen to a running podcast. If I'm struggling with just life, I've got like 5 of those. And then of course, audiobooks too. Huge fan of Audible. So I call this brain fuel and I use this as an actual tool when coaching with clients too, is because our brains will just go to those negative thoughts and patterns, right? So to me, that is one way that we can just feed it and constantly. So I say, listen to or read something positive at least a few times a week. I would say most days, if you can listen to something, most days could just be 20 minutes on your commute, in the shower, when you're getting ready, when I'm cooking, when I'm cleaning. There's like almost always some kind of positive mindset stuff going on in the background. So that way I can't even think, it turns off those negative thoughts when, right, your brain starts going down that way. And you're like, what? Like, why am I even thinking about this right now? That's ridiculous. So I keep that on like almost all the time. So find some brain fuel for wherever you're at. It doesn't have to look like what you or I listen to or read all the time, but find what works for you, right? Second thing I will say is having a coach. And that could look a lot of different ways for folks. You don't have to have, there's big ticket coaches, there's smaller ticket coaches. But I now have, I hired my first business coach over 2 years ago when I started my own health coaching business.
Awesome.
I'm actually in 2 different programs. So I have 2 different coaches. Powerful. It allowed me to not quit. when
Yeah.
times were rough and when I wanted to quit. So whatever quitting is, if that's your health goals, if that's your business goals,
Mhm.
having a coach there. And we also have a community. So I'm able to reach out to the community besides just the coach and see other people. And they're like, oh, you're going through this too. But we don't sit in the misery of it. We
Yeah.
don't sit and collaborate together. We support each other and find solutions to move forward. So a coach enables you to do that.
Mhm.
And yeah, and that's in all, like, I have a marriage coach too. Um, I've had running coaches at time when I need that.
Mhm.
So get resourceful,
Yeah.
whatever that is for you. If that's a therapist or a counselor too, but do some research and see what you need to support you. But having a coach to me is just like the mindset part, a
Yeah.
big part about mindset. Okay, and last thing I'll share. I know I'm like get ranty about this, but I was like, this is so perfect too for what you preach. And it really is. It like 100% is a part of what I preach and do. And that is movement.
Yes.
Like, how do you keep a positive mindset if you literally move your body like 20 minutes, go for a walk even? I'm like, you don't have to get all sweaty. You don't have to go 60 minutes at the gym.
Yeah.
If you just move your body for like 20 minutes, you're
Mhm.
gonna feel better.
Yep.
Right? So
100%.
like that's my mental health. I know I'm an ultra athlete and I race and I like to train too. But sometimes even when I've had a training program and I've had a shitty day,
Mhm.
sorry, I don't know if I can swear on this or not, but
Yes, you can.
when I've had a really bad day, and I don't care if that training says, or I already got in my 3 miles or something, or it said to go easy.
Yeah.
I need to go hit some stairs and like work off some shit.
Yep.
And that's what I'm going to do. And that's for my mental health.
Yeah. Love
So
that.
to me, it's like, and to that, find something you like to do. Don't
Yeah.
freaking just go to the gym because everybody and their mother, and that's what we were told to do since
Yeah,
the
right.
90s, like go rollerblading, go take a dance class, go
Yes.
find a hit class you like, go hip hop dance, like do something you like, and have walking as a backup.
Yeah.
But that's, if you do that every day, I guarantee your mood will go up. No
Yep.
question about it.
I love that. Great tips. And I was thinking the first one that you said, just in regards to, getting resourceful with what we listen to or what we're reading or whatnot. Hands down, at Drive Time University, I called it, where I was going to
Yeah.
work, where this whole thing started, where Move Happy started. My first week on the job, my third day working with patients in a psychiatric hospital, my dad died.
Oh my gosh.
And I was new there. I didn't have sick time built up. I couldn't afford to not be at work. So I was like, I'm just going to start plugging in on my 40-minute to and from commute I listened to Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers. There's some mixture ones on YouTube. I didn't have money to pay for a coach, but my coach at that time, for those that are low income right now, was I had Sprint unlimited data. So I was like, all right, we're going to listen to and only listen to positive things to get my mindset in the right space. And, within 7 months of never working in a psychiatric hospital, no degrees other than an exercise and sports psychology degree. I wasn't a therapist, but I earned a promotion in 7 months that my boss said no one in 30 years was ever even interviewed for, because the patients went to bat for me. And I developed 5 therapies in 12 months for that hospital. 3 of them were billable to the state. So I highly recommend people to plug in to audiobooks or YouTube videos, just type in motivational. And the cool AI, I don't even remember what AI stands for, but it's like, it connects you. When you listen to this, it'll connect you to someone similar. That's not always the same person, but then that's how I learned about all kinds of people that are big leaders that maybe passed away. Jim Rohn is a huge positive guy that talks all, plants and farming. It does a lot of like analogies for, he uses the seeds, like some seeds will get dried up and blow in the wind, some as like prospects or whatnot, like more sales approach. But yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying on that. That's so powerful, so powerful. Great tips. So second pillar of Move Happy is about community. And you kind of talked about that already with, getting plugged in wherever you need. But we know that who we hang around, whether it's our spouse, our children, our friends, our coworkers, those can impact our mental health. And sometimes we need to be intentional about not hanging around people. Sometimes we need to be intentional about hanging around others more frequently to affect our mood, or, be more fit, if it's like we need that accountability or whatnot. For those that are maybe struggling right now, but they're wanting to connect with healthy people for their health, or for business, or maybe they're a new mom or whatever. What are some tips that you've learned as far as how do you connect with others, you know what I mean, like that are going to get you to your goals?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I find just working with people, it can vary obviously depending on your personality, but if you're open to doing this, then honestly, and the first thought was like, for women here that comes up, and anybody, to be honest, but I know us women are typically more open with this stuff. I'm a huge fan of Facebook groups. I have so many Facebook groups that I'm a part of, especially like local ones for mamas, multiple ones, local ones for running, local ones for other working out, like whatever essentially community I want to be in that's going to uplift me and support me. There's a Facebook group for it. So that right there, search, and even if you don't want to use Facebook for all the other things, just join it to do the group. And a big one that I love for women is Trail Sisters. It's a nationwide chapter organization, and it's basically supporting women to get out on the trails and feeling safe at all levels. So we have an amazing chapter here, 2,000 plus strong, but they're all over the country.
Cool.
So it's a phenomenal support group for women and for healthy health stuff. And then honestly, the local gym is kind of like, basically most people that have health conscious goals, whether you're there yet or not, but if you want to be healthy and take those next steps, you can find positive people at the gym. Yeah, you might get that one off who's like the bro or something like that. But for the most part, you're going to find people that are trying to grow and better themselves. So the gym, especially for mamas, because I tell a lot of my new mom friends, like I started teaching group fitness when Lawson, my oldest, who's now 6, he was 6 months old. And I started teaching group fitness to get out of the house.
While you were in grad school.
Still wanted to work.
I love that.
While in grad school. And I could bring him to teach here. I could have like 30 minutes.
I
built up to an hour of time to myself. Like that might have been my only time to myself for the entire day. And then guess what? Other moms and parents bring their kids too. So then you're meeting like-minded people that are also going to a place that's supportive and healthy and positive. So, and then, gosh, I had another thought.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to interrupt if you don't mind, because just a tie-in, you just reminded me, my mom did what you're doing when we were kids. And back in the day at the YMCA, you could get either like discounted or free membership, but you had to teach a class. So she didn't know how, but she learned how to teach swimming lessons. And then she was working with all the kids and the moms, like the baby mommy and me or whatever class, teaching them how to get comfortable in the water. So I think it was like 6 months to 1 or 1.5 years old and whatnot. So I love that you're doing that. And you're so right. Like you connect with other moms or dads too, that are maybe the stay-at-home dad. And it's a great way to connect with your community, get fit, and whether it's getting paid as a fitness coach or getting your gym membership waived. So it's like multiple benefits. So that's a great way to connect with others. I love that. Did you remember the other thing you were going to say?
Yeah, so I did. And kind of like, I know I go to the movement thing a lot, but that's like, again, those are like healthy growth minded folks, like 90% of the time. So like running groups, even again, and a lot of these running groups, I know it sounds intimidating maybe to some folks, but it's really for all levels. Almost I've done this in multiple cities across the country. They are very inviting, very friendly folks. They want to help people. And you don't ever have to do a race. You don't ever have to be fast. It's just about showing up.
Yeah.
And so that's a great community. I have like runners. I've literally like had people I've never even met show up for me to support me in running, or vice versa. We're just like, hey, you need help? Yes. Okay. I'm there. Never met before, but because that's that's like the caliber of people in the run community.
Yep.
So know that you don't have to be at any level to do that. And then really like even if it's not the YMCA or a big gym like that, or running group, but really like if you can be around, if that's a CrossFit gym, if that's your local dance studio or something, but that's going to be a lot of great folks like to build your community around that are healthy and like-minded.
I love that. And you're so true. I'm reminded. So I went through scary season in 2020. I talk a little bit on a previous episode in social media and whatnot. I was off the grid for a couple months because I got hacked and somebody, broke into my house. It was a crazy time. So I'm looking for housing to get back to where I'm living. And I'm looking through my phone list because I couldn't call my family because then it would put them in danger. Right. So I'm calling someone that I volunteered. I just happen to be working out one day and I see a race get set up. And I asked them if they needed help because I didn't want to, at the time, my roommate and I were not getting along. So I was like, maybe I could just volunteer at this race, connected with the head of the race. So she was in my phone and I was like, hey, I know it's been a couple years. Don't know if you remember me. And she remembered me. And I told her my situation and she said, because I needed help getting housing. She said, let me reach out to the board. And she did. She reached out to her board. And it was like, that's the culture of runners. They don't, it goes beyond the trail. It goes beyond the sidewalk and the race. It's people that genuinely want to help. So I love that. Great tips on that. And then of course we've been talking all things running. So I'm assuming that's your favorite way to move your body, but maybe it's not. What's your favorite?
Okay. Yeah. So tough question. And yes, I do. I love to run. Like it's something that is very fun for me. I will say though, just because it's fun and it comes fairly natural to me as like my choice.
Yeah.
When I still have to work through times when I don't feel like going out for a run like multiple times a week, or if I in my training have to push myself, just like somebody off the couch has to push themselves to just go. I have to push myself in my training to do sprint work or steer or different kind of training. And it sucks too. So I will say
it's like a hit low. We know we got to do it.
I definitely love running. It's probably my go-to sport for sure. But I will say I'm a huge fan of spin. So my off season is typically like December through now. I'll have my first race on Saturday to kickstart this season. But these last few months, when it gets cold outside, I'm kind of a weenie, so I go inside more. So I love to spin. I love to lift weights. So I'll do that a couple days out of the week. And then I love the stairs. I know. So that's my running, but then I have those top three right underneath it.
I love that. That's awesome. And you talking about this race coming up. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, gosh, okay. It's supposed to be like freezing cold tomorrow. So y'all send your weather prayers out. But it's called Cold Mountain 25K or 50K. And it's technically a little bit more than 25K. It's 18 miles, almost 18 miles.
Wow.
And it's a trail race. I forget the actual elevation profile. I want to say like 6,000 feet of gain.
Wow.
So it runs like a marathon time. Even though it's 18 miles and a marathon being 26.2, it runs more like a marathon time because of the elevation and the terrain.
Okay.
So I'm excited for it. If it's not freezing cold, if it is, whatever, I'll make it an adventure and have fun with it.
There you go. Layer up.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as far as you're doing a lot right now. And I know before the show, we talked about other things that you're getting into. What's something that you're really excited about? How can we at Move Happy support you right now?
Yeah. Okay. So, oh gosh, and I should have even mentioned this when we were talking about the communities, when I said Facebook groups. So this month, March, I have a Facebook group. It's called the Sweat Life. So
Love
y'all can go find that, search that, or find me, and I'll add you to it. But that's a group that's open any time of year, and
awesome.
really, it is exactly what we talked about. It's to support anyone and everyone
Yep.
making healthier choices.
Yeah.
If that's working out, if that's nutrition, if that's
Yeah.
mindset, whatever. And right now I'm doing a March movement challenge, and I'll
Ooh.
probably do it every year. And you're welcome to still join, like whenever, whatever time you listen to this, if it's now, if it's a week from now,
Yeah.
that you're still welcome to join. I do have prizes for folks that have joined by March 6th. But there may be a participating prize for everybody that joins. So I haven't announced that yet,
Cool.
but so you can join anytime. And what we're doing in that is move your body 6 out of 7 days a week for a minimum of 30 minutes intentionally. It can be
Cool.
any movement that you do intentionally. And for example, even if you're like cleaning your house,
Mhm.
and it's not just like, oh, let me pick up a thing here or there in the middle of your workday, but you're like, no, I'm going to clean and organize my house for an hour. That counts.
That's awesome.
So
I love that.
yeah, yeah, because it's like, you don't have to be some superstar workout person to do this challenge.
Yeah.
The point is we just move our bodies a little bit more
Yep.
most days. So come join that. That's the Sweat Life Facebook group.
Love it. And it's fun. I'm in it too. So
Yes.
you're doing amazing things.
Yes, it's so good. And then I also offer one-on-one health life coaching. And essentially what I like to say there is I help busy men and women to
Mhm.
reach that elusive health goal. So if that's weight loss, if that's having more energy and feeling better, if that's to run a race, if that's whatever, but you've been stuck, you've been trying to do it on your own time and time again, you've tried all the meal plans, you've tried all the courses,
Yeah.
your hands are up, you've tried the personal trainer, like, then that is what I do. So as a coach, I bridge that gap from being where you are to where you want to be.
I love
And I have 2 spots open right
awesome.
now. That's all I have left is 2 spots open. And
Okay.
you can find me. I do a free consult call with everybody to
Okay.
make sure that we're a good fit and to help explain more of what that actually looks like. So everybody gets that. And you can find me on Instagram at Samantha's Real Life.
Cool.
And you can just DM me, or my website is samanthanivens.com.
Love it. And anyone that's on the fence, 1% interested, schedule the call. You're gonna, even if you decide that it's not a good fit right now for you, you're gonna have more energy. You're gonna feel more love from just talking with her. I already feel like I'm pumped. I love your story. And I had no idea we had so many synergies together. So this has been awesome. So go to samanthanivens.com, sign up. And for 2 people, let me ask you a little bit deeper level question so that we can get some clarity on who wants to really sign up with you.
Yeah.
If you could pick, let's say, because you're busy, right? You're a mom. This is something you're passionate about. You're also regular in your fitness routine, doing long distance things. So you're not doing 1 hour. You're probably doing multiple hour workouts when you're working out. So if you could pick your favorite kinds of people to work out with, men and women that are stuck, do they have a certain industry that they work in? Do they?
No, not at all. Honestly, I do like to say, like, busy folks, most of us are busy these days, but
Yeah.
that's who really resonates with me is like, I do live this busy life.
Yeah.
So I know how to get in the healthy eating and the workouts if your life is so full and you feel like you can't get in an edge in, like, you're like, your story is you have no time, you
Yeah.
have no energy, you don't know what to do. That is really my ideal person. And I work with men and women, or
Love it.
however you identify yourself.
Yeah.
So that's really like who comes to me a lot. And I will say even a little bit further on that, like, it could be young. I work with single women who are very career driven. I work with a lot of mamas or parents. I work with, just signed a client who is a very busy traveling. He just very busy in his work career, no kids, but just very busy traveling with work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all the different gamuts, it's more about, one, are you ready to
Yeah.
literally, change and take
Yeah.
transformation on? So that is something you'll have to question and make sure that you're ready to do it. And if
Yeah.
you're questioning that, like Erin said, like you can, let's talk about it and
Yeah.
see where you're at. Whether, I'm not trying to get anybody to a decision of yes, I want you to be clear on what you need right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so really somebody who's ready, somebody who really feels like they've tried all the things and nothing has worked for them. I work with a lot of clients that reach out to me for weight loss in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that comes up.
You work with kids or mostly adults?
And thank you for asking that. I work with teenagers.
Okay.
I haven't worked with, and I would feel comfortable working with 14 years old or older.
Okay.
Younger than that, I entertain the idea, but my proficiency would absolutely be teenagers 100%. I've worked with this one young lady. You're making me think of her now. Like I need
I
to
love
reach
it.
out. She did fabulous. And I absolutely would love to work with any teenagers or young folks, because then there's so much going on with your body image in school
Yeah.
and the
Mm-hmm.
hormones and all of that. So yes, all ages. I've worked then from, gosh, I think she was 15 or 16. And then I've worked with clients into their 70s. So
Love
the
that.
whole gamut. And that was the other thing I was going to say too. Like, yes, I am an athlete, and yes, I have this figured out now, but I've been doing this for like 10 plus years.
Yeah.
So what I want to offer too is for nobody to feel like you have to be at a certain point to work together. I also work with people that are like just getting off the couch, haven't moved, haven't eaten healthy in years.
Yeah.
Like that client, or the client who is maybe an athlete and
Yeah.
is working out, but they're not getting the results. They're putting in all this time. They've tried the macro plans. They've tried the counting calories. They've tried the personal trainer. It's just all not working. So I do both. I do that and everything in between.
I love that. I love that. So 2 blessed people will get selected after that call with you. And it might not be a sign up right now for those that schedule their call with you, but maybe they'll be ready 3 to 6 months from now, so we can get you a wait list for down the road for the rest of this year to keep you energized and give you those positive energies and whatnot. I would think there would be some teenagers that would get ready for summer break and they need to get hooked up with an endurance athlete during their summer break while they're out of school that can keep their mindset in the right place. Because there is so much change with the pandemic. Yes, we're opening things up again. But I was talking with my, I volunteer with Big Brothers Big Sisters, my little sis. She's back in my home state. But she was telling me when they just started opening up, they were not, she's a volleyball player. They were not doing any games. All they were allowed to do, masks required, 6 athletes at a time, 6 feet apart, no competition. I mean, like, this is going to impact all the way to the Olympics level. These kids need to be connected with someone that is a professional to give them hope to keep moving. And they would be, anyone would be honored to be working with you. So they need to schedule those appointments. Your time is busy. What's the best way that they can schedule that with you? Is it to go on your website?
So on my website, I do have a link that you can book from.
Okay.
But honestly, I do have a lot of people that just message me on Facebook Messenger or on Instagram and DM me.
Okay.
Whatever works best. And I can even drop my number and folks can text me, like if you want to leave that in the show notes or something.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. And then in your New York time, so if they're in a different time zone, just keep that in mind when scheduling with her, to make sure that it's not after, I would say not after 8 p.m. but maybe you work later than that.
We figure it out. We figure it out, whatever it is.
I'm so
Yeah.
excited for you. That's awesome. And anybody that gets to work with you. So last but not least, I always love to close the show out with just something silly, something fun on the spot. So I was thinking earlier in the show, we were talking about, you're getting in grad school and you have this 6-month-old baby, you're like figuring out the truth. So is the relationship, the romance, is that on the table? Can we
Oh,
talk
like
about
personal, like with, yeah. So I'm happy to share about that. So
that?
when I moved up to Asheville,
Mhm.
I had met my now ex-husband,
Okay.
within that year. And so I have 2 kids with him. I have a 6-year-old and a 3.5-year-old.
Okay.
And we split up over a year and a half ago now.
Okay.
And so that was kind of like a year of a hard time for my
Yeah.
life leading up to that. And then of course the separation definitely was very transitional times for all of us.
Yeah.
But I will say, just for anybody going through something like that or some big transition,
Yep.
whatever that is in life,
Yeah.
what really resonated with me and kept me through that was thinking about the best case scenario versus the worst case scenario, where our brains just want to go, how will I survive? How will I do this? How will I blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Like, how will I ever find, like, all of those things that come up, shut that down. And then you want
Yes.
to focus here on that best case scenario.
Yes.
So that is exactly what I did. And I met my dream man literally a couple months later. I had already grieved and gone through that process with my
Yeah.
ex
Yeah.
that year leading up to the separation.
Yeah.
And so when I left, I had already written out and knew who my dream man was and what I wanted.
I
And there
love
was no
that.
settling at this time, because I settled a lot in that last relationship.
Yes,
I know
girl.
some of y'all know what I'm talking about.
Ooh, yes, preach it to me.
So actually he's coming up right now. So I met Patrick a couple months after that from Hinge. Hey baby, I'm on a podcast.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
You can say hi. This is Dream Man right here.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. So good.
Yeah, so we met and now it's been a year and a few months since. And we, as you know, Erin, we just moved in together this last weekend, all of us together. So it's amazing. And just, yeah, for everybody to even hear that and know that like anything like this is possible for you.
Yes. 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 I've been through your shoes as well. So I love that. I love Patrick. I love you because I love her.
This is like, really, how did you time this? Like to you and her to like have this happen and come up right exactly this question.
So any person that is maybe going through a divorce or in the transition of a new relationship or wants that, I think that would be really key for them to call you, to schedule that time to chat with you, because that can impact our health so much. The stress of divorce in itself. And I went through it, but I didn't have children. So I can imagine going through with kids involved and whatnot. You are such a powerhouse superwoman. And I love, and you're so positive and so encouraging of others. I love it. People just, they need to call and schedule with you. You're going to have, I'm hoping that you have a maxed out calendar from the show. So, and it'll be
ongoing. I would love to work with anybody. And I will say too, to that, Erin, I just bringing that up, like the space for like life. When I work with people, yes, we do that, the health stuff, like the moving our bodies and the nutrition and that, but I always hold the space for our calls when we're working together for whatever's going on in life. So that's relationship stuff, if that's grieving about something, if that's work stuff, like if that's sleep, like whatever issues you have going on, if they're stopping you from reaching your health goals, like we get to talk about that.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is a part of, that's why I call myself a HealthLife coach instead of just a trainer or a health coach. Like we get to do all the things together.
I love that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. This has been super fun. Oh my goodness. We definitely need to do a follow-up session down the road. 2.0.
Let's do it. Let's do it after my 100K this fall so we can share some fun results from that.
I love it. That sounds awesome.
Thank you so much, Erin. This is awesome.